too. This is like too much.
No, this one is okay. Here. You have to go every here.
Okay. Okay.
Now that's going to give my good
All right,
side.
right there. How do you like it? Maybe a little.
It is off the ball. Now it's too heavy.
There you go. You like it, right? That's nice. That's perfect.
That's up
If
to
you
all
move,
that.
if you move, the thing will move with you.
Can't
Look at
find
here.
it.
Look at here. Just trying to get this to switch.
Switch what? Over there, stand up. Alright, so basically I got a open post right here. We use the post like open post.
Sharp.
Perfect.
Tile rags out here on the front lawns. I love this side.
G Abolitionist on the air with you at KEXU 96.1 FM LP Revolution Radio, where we explore the connection between imperial war and incarceration. I don't limit myself to being a prison abolitionist because there are more structures and institutions that I seek to abolish than just incarceration. For example, white supremacy and racism, two different things. Male supremacy and patriarchy, two different things. Class supremacy and wage oppression, two different things. And imperial war. Yes, imperial war is an institution of the American empire. But let me be very clear. The United States military is an institution of the empire. However, it serves the institution of imperial war. The need for imperial conquest shapes and defines the U.S. military. In fact, the European settler lust and need for conquest of Indian lands made the development of a military necessary. All who opposed or resisted were killed or imprisoned. The first reservations were in fact prisons. I'm going to talk some about Vietnam. Y'all also make sure you hear Afghanistan, Iraq, Palestine, and any and every inner city in America. He was a 9 or 10-year-old boy begging for food on the side of the road like hundreds of others. I was riding shotgun in the truck. I was the one with the gun. The driver crushed his skull with a can of sea rations. Little boy in a large group of children, all of them begging for food, cigarettes also, but mainly begging for food because they were hungry, gets murdered. That's a function of genocide, y'all. That's a function of genocide. We have to be clear about that. The destruction of Indian nations in this country was the practice of genocide, y'all. The incarceration of African people in this country in astronomical figures. In 1970, America incarcerated 250,000 people in the entire country. Today, America incarcerates more than 2.3 million people. And that doesn't even consider those who were on state control, either parole, probation, or other forms of limited incarceration, if you will, wearing that electronic ball and chain, having to pay to have themselves shackled to an electronic device. It's Fleece Week. The military is flexing itself. The Navy is showing its prowess all around the Bay Area. On Sunday, they did an overfly at the 49ers game. rattling and shaking the stadium to wild cheers, egging on the mass destruction of the planet and of the planet's people. It's absolutely amazing how this continues and continues and continues. There was a letter to the editor in today's San Francisco Chronicle that I would like to read to y'all. The headline they gave for this letter to the editor is Fleet Week Glorifies Warmongering. Fleet Week is a display of military force and a public relations glorification of war without showing any of the harmful realities. Lost in the show is the suffering caused by war, from displaced refugees to toxic contamination to debilitating trauma and death. San Francisco has been a projection point for U.S. wars during the last century in Asia, Pacific, and the country's ongoing military presence in Hawaii, the Philippines, South Korea, Japan, and Guam, which has a track record of violence against women, environmental devastation, and the trampling of indigenous sovereignty and sacred sites. Fleet Week normalizes the enormous military expenditures at a time when we have problems with inequality, lack of housing, climate change, and gun violence. The U.S. military has been named the worst polluter on the planet. And earlier this year, toxic fuels were found to be contaminating the water aquifers at U.S. bases at Red Hill in Hawaii and Okinawa in Japan. Shouldn't we be investing in and uplifting new pathways to genuine security, conflict resolution, and collaboration between nations instead of being blind to the cost of a permanent state of war? This letter was written by Deborah Lee from Albany. I want to shout out to Deborah. Say, hey sister, you just keep on pushing out that knowledge and speaking those truths. Julian Assange is still in prison in London on trumped-up charges and is awaiting extradition to the United States to be tried in the Espionage Act. Julian Assange is an Australian citizen. The Espionage Act is designed to apprehend and punish people who belong to the United States of America and commit espionage. There are people who ask, how can this be done? Julian Assange is not an American national. Julian Assange is an Australian national. And the answer lies in Guantanamo Bay. Gitmo, the infamous prison that the United States set up under baby boy Bush when he was president, snatching people from Afghanistan and bringing them to Guantanamo, the Marine garrison on the end of the Cuban island. It's extra legal, it's paralegal, it's extrajudicial, but it was done. It was done many, many years ago, couple of decades ago. And that set a precedent that the United States empire can snatch people from anywhere in the world, imprison them wherever they wish to do so, without any due process, without the people being charged with a crime. This is the basis upon which they're launching their attack on Julian Assange. And Julian Assange, his actions that the U.S. so much wants to punish him for, to kill him for, was revealing actual tactics and actual footage of things that the United States military perpetrated. The killing of journalists, and when a family in a van stopped to aid him, the helicopter gunship opened fire on them also, obliterating an entire family. These are the things that we carry out. I mentioned, I read in the letter to the editor, the toxic sites that were found in Hawaii and South Korea, or Japan. You know, sites from the U.S. military. We have a site here in the Bay Area, San Francisco, Hunters Point, where there was a military base for a long time. And then it was closed down. Supposedly the military cleaned it up, and they built a housing development there. And the people who live there are sick. They're sick all the time, with a myriad of symptoms: skin rashes, headaches, cancers, and the ground is found to still be toxic. The U.S. military did not clean up the site. This is the glorification of the military. This is the might of the military. Never get it wrong. The United States military, the United States empire, occupies the world. The United States military has more than 800 bases throughout the world. Any country that has a U.S. military base on its sovereign territory, no matter what anyone else says, is in fact being occupied by the American empire. We need to rise up. We need to recognize these things. We need to push back hard. I think that's about my time for today. I'm going to close. And in closing, I want to share with you, we are the ones we're waiting for. Dare to struggle. Dare to win. Join with me, the Prisoners of Conscience Committee, All of Us or None, formerly incarcerated and convicted peoples and family movement, and we say, what's the call? Free them all. Dare to struggle. Dare to win. All power to the people. We say Ashe. How long did I go for? Ah, shit, I had another few minutes. Huh? I only had 15. Yeah, plus 15. But that's all right. Yeah, that works. Let me share definitions that I have with you. I'm interested in what you think. I mean, you don't have to respond right now for a little set of it. I want you to respond right away too. So I think that white supremacy and racism are two different things. I think white supremacy is a system of organization, and I think that racism is an ideology. They're inseparable. They go together. So I'm just going to read what the different way I define it and what I use. White supremacy is a hierarchical supremacist system of organization among European extractive people, such that all power and wealth flows to white. Racism is an ideological philosophy that justifies, supports, and maintains white supremacist organizations through the subjugation, oppression, and punishment of African people, and extends to other indigenous people and people of the global majority. Cool. You got any comments on this thing that gets talked about and people are pushing that black people can't be can't be racist because they don't have no power?
Well, I feel like you want these businesses out there and people who are different nationalities, race, creed, ethnic background. That is actually racist. Anybody can actually be racist if they feel so they're inferior and no one matters more than them and they have to also matter.
So let me push with that. I don't agree with that. I think that though that's popular, popular view now, it's put forth that anyone can be racist, that all people are racist. And I think that's where the concept that African people aren't racist because they don't have power. And the power is the functioning instrument of whether it's racism. I mean, anyone can be bigoted, anyone can be prejudiced. But I think there's a difference. And I analyze that racism comes into being when Europeans started stealing people from Africa and enslaving them in Europe and in America. And that racism was developed to justify that horrendous act of stealing these enslaved people. And that the object, and so that's the creation of it. That's how I analyze it. Because prior to the stealing of people from Africa, we didn't identify ourselves in terms of our color or our race. Well, the whole world identified in terms of where they were from, the geography. Not what we looked like. That comes into being when Europe started stealing people from Africa and enslaving them and created